Hey folks, Twisha Christian here. I want to get a little bit into what's going on in Iraq and the political infighting, the pressure that's mounting upon the people because you have rising costs in Iraq because due to the central bank's devaluation. And so following what's going on in Iraq right now, and one of the things that I've learned in the past is that right now basically the only entity that can revalue the dinar is the central bank. And in this particular article, Iraqi government ignores parliamentary calls for reverting currency devaluation. And of course, there is some confusion when you read this article. Well, is the central bank the only entity that can revalue, or can the parliament vote and change the value? And there are differences in that. And just to kind of give you an idea, I'm not going to read the whole entire article, but there's a lot of this political infighting. You have a lot of the politicians are calling, to change the value back from 1450 to 1200 because this caused a lot of economic damage, especially to poor areas of Iraq. You have Parliament who passes laws, and then you have all these people in power. And it says here, nevertheless, the Iraqi government is sticking to its decision in maintaining that the central bank, not Parliament, has the exclusive authority over the national's currency valuation. And who's the government? The government is those who are already in power. Everything from the prime minister to his cabinet and everything else. So you have Parliament who is going against this established power that's there. All these different politicians, because the politicians are probably feeling the heat from their constituents. But it says here that the central bank, not Parliament, has the exclusive authority over the national's currency valuation. Right? So I know a lot of people look for the revaluation. They look for a rate in the budget. And it says here, Iraqi Cultural Minister Hassan Nazim, in an official statement on Monday, acknowledged that the parliament can change the dinar's valuation, but also said the government will not be bound by the modification. So basically, the way that I read that is that they can vote and change the official rate of the dinar, but the government itself will not be bound by the modification. So they're basically saying it's up to the central bank. The way that I look at this, right? Because these things are going to come suddenly, right? And if they were to put the actual rate in the budget and they were to debate the budget, then everybody in the world would know what was getting ready to happen. So I don't think it's going to come that way. I don't think you're going to see a rate in the budget unless it's at the last moment or some type of bill that is being passed, maybe forcing the central bank to revalue. But it may not, maybe even be out open to the public. And if it is, it would be at the last second. But we would still know in advance. Because what did Kim Clement say?
Okay, hasn't been time, sudden change. So, for those that are investing, I cannot tell you to do this or purchase them. But for those that are holding on, nothing, and then suddenly something. And how nothing, and then suddenly everything changes.
So I know that the Pope visited a little while ago, and then you have these you're going to have these meetings between the United States current administration and Iraq administration. So you got that coming up, and so we're not going to see that the revaluation come out of those meetings because they don't really want to revalue any currency. The way that the central banks, the market makers, and those who have the power and the money like to keep it the way that it is. The revaluation is going to cause a change in our economic system because we know that it's going to be Iraq first, then the Vietnamese dong, and then whatever other currencies. And I will share this, as I've always shared, that back in 2014, that they were ready, the central bank was ready. The Iraqi dinar revaluation postponed by the central bank for 5 years, says MP Noor al-Bajari. 5 years was 2019, we're in 2021, so it's been 7 years since they postponed the dinar revaluation. Right now, I do believe that all the currencies, all the lower denominations are already printed. I think they've already been to go since 2013 and 14. Because you're not going to have a revaluation, and whether you lop off the zeros or however you do it, you're still going to need lower denominations. Those lower denominations are sitting somewhere. And, during the war, when a third of Iraq was taken over, obviously either they weren't in the country or they were somewhere else within the country. Whoever printed it, they could be sitting in their warehouses right now for all we know. But they're ready. And so this is going to happen at some point. There's an actual debate on if they're just going to chop off the zeros and there's not going to be any real revaluation, as opposed to a revaluation where your investment, where you spend $1,000 and the revaluation happens, and next thing you know it, you're a millionaire. Something else that I am going to get into, but everything that's going on with cryptocurrency right now, and the central banks are probably just sitting back wondering what the hell is going on with Bitcoin. Obviously they know they need to restore faith back in the central bank system, because we've seen it been falling apart for years. We've been watching it fall apart for years. But something has to happen in order for the dinar revaluation. There has to be faith put back into currency. And the only way that you're going to do that is it has to be asset backed. Right? Whether it's based off gold, silver, minerals, precious metals, rare metals, tourism, just a lot of other things, right? That can make a country, be economically successful and also have a strong rate of exchange. So there's going to come a point in time where they're going to revalue and they're going to restore the faith, but it's going to, and as I believe, when the central bank is backed into a corner. And when they are backed into a corner, they're going to have to strike back. And that, I believe, that's the dinar revaluation. And I'll get into that a little bit more in another video. And one last thing I do want to bring up, because I know there was a lot of talk about the Malaysian Ringgit and this whole thing with the Bank of Negara relaxes Ringgit denominated interest rate swap trade for non-resident banks. And there was a lot of hype across social media, and a lot of people thought that this was going to actually go up in value. Quickly, what this article means, it says this flexibility will encourage the participation of non-resident banks in the onshore IRS market, thus promoting a more liquid domestic market to lower hedging costs for corporations and asset managers and funding costs for onshore banks. Okay, so basically what they're trying to do is bring in more liquidity, from the way that I understand it, into Malaysia, right? And a lot of people did expect this to go up. Here we have, just going back 1 year, it was at 23 cents of March 27th, 2020. And we look at it today, it's at 24 cents. And then it hit its peak here at 25 cents. And even going back 5 years, it was actually a little bit stronger back in 2016, dipped down to 22 cents. But see, it doesn't move very much. My videos on the Thai baht in the past, and I've showed you guys articles about the central bank trying to keep the Thai baht from exploding, basically revaluing, right? And there's all these different things that I've shown in past videos that they're doing everything they can to make sure that it doesn't gain in value. And so that's the central bank system, right? And the revaluation is going to show the true value of each country's currency. Even with these changes that Malaysia is doing, and I believe it's all leading up to the country being unrestricted as far as their currency. And I think that's where you're going to see a lot of these different exotic currencies. You guys go out there and start doing your research and see if you are seeing anything on any of these other central banks where they're making moves like this. Because in order to participate in the reset, right, or what some people call the Great Reset, the currency reset, each individual country that has a restricted currency are going to they're going to be needing to do things in order to get their currency unrestricted. Not every country is going to be able to participate. If the revaluation was to take place right now at this moment, there's a lot of countries, especially, and I've talked about this in South America, they're just not really ready for any type of a revaluation. There's a lot of chaos in some of those countries. So, folks, I just wanted to make it clear that it's right now, according to the government, even if when it comes to Iraq, that the only entity that can do it is the central bank. The parliament can do it, but it would be ignored by the government. So, anyways, folks, I just think it's good that this is actually taking place and they're talking about this. And I believe that we are going to come across the nothing, 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 and then sudden change. There's still many, I believe, more events that have to take place surrounding Iraq in order for the revaluation to happen, especially speaking prophetically too as well. So anyways, folks, I thank you for listening. God bless. And with that being said, Twisted Christian out.